Hey y'all, it is September the 22nd, 2019, and buckle yourself in. I'm not sure how long it's going to take, but I understand some people out there appreciate it a lot when I go into my story time mode, and this is one of those times, all right? Um, just real briefly to set the stage, I recently quit my second job, and it was at a pancake house, and we're gonna dive into that in a second. I quit my second job, and right now, currently, especially tomorrow, I'm gonna be on the hunt for another second job. Why? Because I gotta pay bills. All right, it's extremely necessary. All right. The reason that I'm telling this story is because I've been kind of inspired to, the thing is, I was thinking about telling this story earlier. I was pondering it, and actually, my favorite brother out there, Mr. El Nino, he asked me about, the fact is that I recently quit my second job at a pancake house, which will go unnamed. He asked me to tell him why or what led up to me quitting that second job, and I let him know that I'm gonna have to make a video about it. All right, there's no way that I could possibly text you about it necessarily. It's gonna take way too long, and I don't like texting all that much. All right, I said, listen, it's gonna take some unpacking. All right, some serious unpacking. So it's gonna take some time. All right, and I figured, hey, while I'm at it, I might as well just go back into my history. And actually, this particular story is going to be a good addition to my life story, which is a story I told a little bit over a month ago, and which took about 5.5 hours to tell. Now, if I was to tell my life story in its complete entirety, it probably would have took like 12 hours to tell, right? And I wasn't fixing tell a 12-hour story, right? So I was able to bundle it into about 5.5 hours. All right, but I think that it's actually pretty necessary to dive back a little bit into the story of my life to kind of elaborate further and touch on some details that I really didn't mention about in my life story. All right, so let's dive into it. I've had a lot of jobs. All right, a lot of them. And I to the point is where I can't barely count them. I don't exactly remember all the different jobs that I've had is well in excess of a dozen jobs. It has to be. It's probably more close to 20 different jobs that I've had in my life. You might be saying, well, I look young and stuff. Yeah, been a problem for me. I'm fixing to turn 33, so imagine that. Just about 20 different jobs that I've had at least in my lifetime. So to go back, I want to explain that, of course, how I explained in my life story is I spent most of my life being what you might refer to as a beta male. All right. And certainly I was able to get girls and stuff when you consider my face and my stature and stuff like that. It wasn't hard to get ladies in my life. All right. That's not to say I couldn't get ladies in my life. I could do it, even though I was a beta male, and that's the problem. A lot of these girls out here are settling for beta males simply because they don't know that is what they have on their hands. All right, and that is a problem. So, just real briefly, like I said, for most of my life, I've been a beta male, and one thing that kind of pertains to beta males in particular is they have, or at least in my case, they have kind of a difficulty in holding on to a job, all right, seeing things through. And I got to admit that I took after, in that particular way, I took after my own father. All right, in a lot of ways, I resembled my own father in that way. Coming up, I can say I don't know how many jobs he's had, but he's had a lot of jobs. All right. And what he would do is he would quit his jobs because he gets very emotional. He gets very he's got something of a temper, real bad, and so he would quit jobs, and then he would desperately have to find another job, right? What I got to explain for all the young ladies out there is that is a terrible trait in a young man. And I'm being dead serious, and I tell all my nieces, and I'll tell my daughter, and any young girl who's willing to listen, you probably have a beta male on your hands if you cannot keep a job, all right? And I know that from personal experience. So throughout my working career, like I said, I'm pushing about 20 different jobs that I've had in my life, and that's a terrible trait to have. I would get say heated, like if a job did me dirty, I would pretty much not have any sort of patience for it. I would quit that job, and just like my father, I would go ahead and desperately have to find a new job. All right, and there's plenty of stories I could tell and that I've told over the years about the different various jobs that I've had. All right. Um, I guess real briefly, I gotta explain that changed for me. That whole trait of being very emotional, quitting jobs, and then having to desperately find other jobs. That trait actually died away from me as I was becoming an alpha male. All right. And it wasn't me that made myself into an alpha male. It was actually God changing my life and changing my heart that turned me into an alpha male that I am today. All right. And a lot of people probably wouldn't agree with that, but it's not about whether or not they agree. I'm telling you right now, there's differences between an alpha male and a beta male. Trust me, I've been a beta male pretty much the majority of my life. All right. So, I quit all sort of jobs, right? And most of those jobs have been food service jobs. Real briefly, I gotta say 98% of food service jobs are not jobs worth keeping. All right. You should probably, as a man, move into a job that is more of a career or a trade, for example. Now, there's people out there who they move up the ladder and they become managers of food service jobs. Now that's something else, right? If you become a manager, there's something to be said about that, right? If you own your own restaurant as well, for example, that's when you start getting money, right? There's something to be said about that, but it's a lot of hard work. It's a lot of hard work. Whether or not you're a manager or an owner of a restaurant, you're probably going to be spending the majority of your life in that restaurant. All right, it's not going to be easy at all. All right, if you're not a manager of a food service restaurant, if you're working as a waiter or a cook in the back, that's no good. All right, that's only good to have as a second job, perhaps, which is what I was doing at this pancake house recently. All right. But the whole beta male transformation into alpha male, which I am today, thankfully, thanks to God, that took place through a certain sort of process in my life, pretty much directly after I lost everything, as I've explained in my life story. So I lost my wife, as you know, my daughter has been estranged from me for some time. All right, there's no you cannot disconnect me and my daughter. Will never happen. All right, because our relationship is too close. We're always going to be intertwined in that sense. But however, I haven't seen her in some years, as I've explained in my last story. So that hit me like a wrecking ball, all right? Totally devastated me, destroyed me, basically, all right? And I had to rebuild from there. And from there, I developed a lot of alpha male traits, to include an extremely hard work ethic. Right? When I go to work, it is to get the job done, period. And, just to kind of describe the contrast of myself to other young males or beta males out there. Lots of times, especially in food service jobs, you'll see them and they're just slacking off, or they're staring at their phones and stuff and doing this, and with their free time just constantly on their phones and stuff. That is something that maybe I used to do back when I was a beta male. But after I had lost everything, I started to realize there's nothing on my phone worth looking at all. All right. When I go to work, it is to work. I don't even want to sit around. I don't want to be bored. I want to do something. I want to get the job done because, see, that takes my mind off of back during when I was just getting used to having my daughter estranged from me and stuff like that, my whole life falling apart. I realized when I go to work, it is to work and work and work. And I want to think about work and I want to get the job done, all right, to the best of my capabilities. And there is no looking at my phone. I put my phone away and don't ever look at it until I get off. Right? If somebody wants to call me or whatever, contact me while I'm working, guess what? The work has a phone, and you could call them if you need to get in contact with me. Call them because I'm not looking at my phone. I'm concentrating on the job. It needs to get done. It needs to get done to the best of my capabilities. And ever since that took place, I noticed that my work ethic, that the job that I do is leagues above what most men out there will do. All right. It's just far and above it because they're usually slacking off or just doing the minimal amount of work or staring at their phones and stuff. That's the age we live in. All right. So I've had a couple of jobs, a few different jobs since becoming an alpha male, simply because I was living in San Antonio, and then I had to move to Big Spring, Texas, in which, I got a job there, and there I was able to get a couple different jobs. Sometimes I had two jobs at a time. I've had two jobs at a time several times in my life. All right, but okay, I moved from Big Spring, Texas back to San Antonio, so I had to get yet again another job. So becoming an alpha male and stuff like that, I still have had to have multiple different jobs since then. But in the meantime, what I gotta explain is my work ethic has just been very much strengthened. I don't quit jobs. For example, my main job that I have right now in manufacturing, I've had it for a year and a half and stuff. And sometimes it can be hard. Sometimes there's times in which, things get very difficult and stuff like that. Don't matter. All right. I found a trade, I found a career, and I'm going to see it through. You know what I'm saying? It just is what it is. I press through. I'm no longer a quitter, which is what beta males typically are. There's some quitters. That's not in me anymore. All right. I need to do the job. I'll stick with the job. I don't care if someone's chewing me out all day. I'll take it. Doesn't really matter. I'll continue doing the job. All right. Because that's what an alpha male does. All right. Gotta pay bills regardless. If someone's chewing me out at my particular manufacturing job, guess what? I deserve it. All right. And I need to keep pressing forward. I got a work ethic that's almost obsolete. I'd say almost obsolete because I've seen men out there who are also busting their backs, all right, and doing the job regardless. There's some out there, it's few and far between. I gotta explain, but I see them out there sometimes, and I respect them. I respect the alpha male in them, and the fact is that they have bills to pay, and they know there's no room for quitting. There's no room for quitters. You need to keep climbing and climbing to the top and getting more and more money. All right. So I have a pretty good job right now. All right. if we're going to fast forward to right now, I have a pretty good job. I've had it for a year and a half. I plan to continue having that job. All right. And I'm going to receive raises and I'm going to keep climbing up and keep learning. But in the meantime, I realized, okay, I have an apartment to pay for right now. All right. So there's no playing around. I had to make ends meet. So not only do I have a good job, a real good job, and it's got good benefits, and it's kind of difficult, but you know what? That doesn't even matter. I'm a man and I'm going to do it. But I had to have a second job, all right, to make ends meet. There's things like taxes, there's things like paying rent, there's things like child support that will knock a hole in your pocket for real. And so I had to consider these things, all right? There's no way I could do all these things right now at this particular time without a second job, and that's why I got one, right, at this pancake house. So that's pretty much to set the foreground, all right, into this particular pancake house job and why I had to quit recently. And I'm going to be looking for another second job. All right. So I get this second job at a pancake house, all right, which will go unnamed. And mind you, like I said, I've had over a dozen jobs in food service. Trust me, I know food service in and out. I know just from looking at it what a particular restaurant needs to be doing and what they're not doing. And if someone were to ask me, I'll tell you, I could be a consultant. To be honest with you, I got so much experience in food service. I could easily be a consultant for a restaurant who wants to make money, who's not making money. I could tell you why you're not making money. And then I can also tell you how to make money if you were to ask me. That being said, this funny thing about food service, if you get a job at a restaurant and you know different various ways that they could be making more money, if you know that sort of thing, if you have that knowledge, typically that restaurant will not care to hear your suggestions, not at all. Because if they're not making money already, that's because they don't care about making money. I mean, it's just to say, certain businesses certain food service businesses and restaurants out there are completely content with making mediocre money. All right. That's not to say like places like Chick-fil-A. Chick-fil-A is out to get some money and they'll get it real hard. There's other restaurants out there who have great business models and they get money. They get a lot of it. All right. And then there's certain restaurants out there who are happy to be run of the mill, who are happy to be average and below average. This pancake house that I was talking about that I just did a job at, they're one of those restaurants. They're very content in being run of the mill, below average. And I got that job and I accepted that job, not quite knowing that is the case. This particular pancake house was more than content on doing just enough business to stay in business. Now, here's the thing about a pancake house. It's going to make a lot of money during the morning time, period. If you're not making money during the morning time as a pancake house, you're going to close up real quick, all right? People like pancakes. People like breakfast in the morning. So it's just kind of like fish in a barrel for a pancake house, all right? It's the shifts. And mind you, this pancake house is a 24/7 establishment. And there are shifts to include the lunchtime and the evening time and the overnight time in which you have to be creative. You have to figure out different ways in order to keep bringing in money during those times. You're going to get all sort of money during the morning time. That goes without saying. But during the evening time, during overnight, you do have to be creative. This particular pancake house, not creative at all. All right. Nobody, as far as management goes, none of them know how to get money. And this is what I was learning very quickly as I got established in this pancake house. I started in the back real quick, and then before a couple weeks went by, I was up in the front, which is where you want to be. If you're in food service at all, you don't want to be in the back of the house. You're not going to hardly make no money. And it doesn't matter where you go. If you go to the front of the house, if you start being a server, that's where you're gonna find real money. That's where you're gonna get some real money at. Forget the back of the house. You ain't gonna hardly get paid nothing. The back of the house is for people who cannot talk, for people who are not very people oriented, who are willing to get $9 and $10 an hour. All right, that's not me. I wanted more money, so I get up to the front and I'm doing that sort of thing within a couple of weeks. But it did not take me a couple of weeks to figure out about this particular pancake house that just run of the mill, below average. And in fact, speaking of that, they were very weary to give out hours, and this is going to be very important. As far as labor, they were constantly cutting labor. I mean, they were running bare minimum as far as labor when it wasn't the morning time. Like when it is the morning time, they're fully staffed. They want all sort of waiters. They want everybody in the back of the house because they're just constantly flipping pancakes and making that money. All right, but when it was the lunchtime and the evening time and the overnight time, this pancake house would severely cut on labor, all right, to bare bones. And what that ended up doing, I found out very, very quickly, is it made the restaurant, like I said, mediocre, below average, but also a very unclean place. I've worked in a lot of different restaurants, and they vary as far as, being clean and having cleanliness. All right, that's very important for a restaurant to be clean and maintain their cleanliness. This particular pancake house was dirty as anybody's business. It's one of the dirtiest restaurants I ever seen in my life. All right, to the point of being disgusting. All right. Like when I was working in the back of the house, I couldn't help but notice that everything was covered in grime. There was stuff like if you move stuff around, you'll find chicken strips just laying on the floor and just different disgusting things. They could have been there for weeks for all I know. I mean, with flies flying around, it was a disgusting place. All right. But like I said, I'm not a quitter. All I would do is constantly clean these things that were disgusting. And guess what? I didn't get a thank you. Nobody was like, oh, yeah, I didn't realize we're disgusting. We're a disgusting establishment until you started cleaning everything. All right. No, there was no thank yous because it's a mediocre restaurant. All right. I noticed that very quickly. But instead of complaining, instead of saying, hey, this place is disgusting, all I did was clean it up constantly. All right. So to go back to when I was actually hired, I want to explain this. I was hired, and this is going to be important, by a transgender. All right. So it's going to be very important. A transgender person is a boy who thinks it's a girl. All right, is a boy slash man who thinks it's a girl. All right, that was the person that hired me. I never brought it up because it's none of my business. I'm just trying to get money. You do your boy thinking you're a girl thing. Keep it to yourself. I'm gonna get money in this place. All right. So that was the person who literally hired me. Is one of the middle management. All right, is this transgender person, and like I said, live and let live. I was not concerned with it at all. All right, there was a couple different managers who'd be supervising the pancake house and stuff, and they were both interesting in their own way. One of them was a transgender. That was the one that hired me. All right. Okay, so I want to explain, like I've already established, it's kind of a disgusting place. It was kind of below average. However, being a server, the kind of server that I am, with the kind of work ethic I am, I was quickly starting to gain a lot of popularity there. I was quickly starting to get some money, to get those tips and stuff like that. All right, just to be real brief about it, I'm very much a people person. All right, and I want to establish that I've had 2 or 3 different waiting jobs, server jobs before, and it's pretty much something that I learned way earlier is how to be a good waiter. There's people out there who are not good waiters. There's people out there who either don't know what they're doing, or they're too consumed with their phones in the back, or whatever. They're just bad waiters if you've ever had one. And I know everybody's gone to a restaurant and been like, where the hell's my waiter? Like, what the heck's going on? Like, the service is terrible here. All right. There certainly is that sort of thing. I'm the complete opposite of it. All right. When you're eating at an establishment and I'm the server, you're gonna get taken care of like nobody's freaking business. You're gonna be so satisfied that it's pretty much unbelievable. All right, every last little thing that you could even need, I'm gonna bring it to you before you even know that you need it. All right, period. Because I'm not in the back socializing. I'm not on my phone in the dang corner like it's obsessed with whatever's going on there. I want to know. I want to know if I got these tables, you're going to get taken care of. All right. For example, you don't never go thirsty. Nobody's ever gone thirsty at any one of my tables ever. All right. It is unheard of. You know what I'm saying? Before you even get to where your cup's empty, I'm going to bringing you another drink immediately. Your cup's never going to get empty without having me set down another drink right there in its place. Anything, everything, it gets taken care of as if I'm your server, period. And I'm gonna make you feel good. Like, even if your food takes a while to get out, even if it's inexcusable how long your food is taking to get out, I'm still gonna get a good tip because I'm going to make light of the situation. I'm going to make sure that you feel like you're very well taken care of regardless. All right. That's what the kind of server that I am. All right. So that all being established, it was coming to my attention. Like I said, it's a below average establishment. It was coming to my attention that they would be slacking. All right, a lot of the times. Not only would it take a little bit of time for people's food to come out from time to time because they got a bare minimum. Like, I work the evening shifts. I don't work in the mornings because that's not something that would be in my best interest, being is that I work overnight, all right, at my manufacturing job. It would be way too hard. I get off way too late in the morning for my manufacturing job to be able to work the mornings in this particular pancake house. So I would be working the evenings. You see what I'm saying? All right, so they weren't very great at getting the food out on time. There's some cooks that are better than others. Like, for example, there's a Filipino in the back, and sometimes there would be a Mexican in the back who would get the orders out in a timely manner, and I very much appreciate them. They had a very good work ethic, all right? So what I gotta explain is about this particular pancake house is they're running bare minimum labor. That means the manager has to sometimes be the host, has to sometimes be the cook, has to sometimes be the damn dishwasher. All right. The manager, basically, the way it's set up is that the manager is running Red Rover all over the place in order to fill in the spots because there's not enough people working there. All right. So that becomes a problem. And the thing about that is the manager has to be on point the entire time for that to even work out. All right. Okay, so as I was understanding this particular restaurant, it was just lacking in a lot of ways. In a lot of ways, they could have been getting more business, and I don't have time to explain the different various ways that I could have told them how to get more money in. But it's one of those establishments, they're not trying to listen. They're not trying to innovate. They're not trying to make more money. I mean, you got management who are just, the reason why they're management is because they're willing to get paid peanuts to be the managers, basically. All right. They're not smart people. They're not trying to get more money. They're just trying to toe the line and just do the bare minimum. All right. And so this caused problems for me. Not really very big problems, but I noticed y'all aren't always on point, which is already that's irritating to me that y'all aren't always on point, and it makes me have to work harder, which is all right because I have a good work ethic. But okay, here's an example of some of the stuff that was kind of bothering me since day one. Is we had an agreement. I worked the evenings at this pancake house, but here's the thing: on my application, I wrote very clearly I need to be out at 10 o'clock. Period. I need to be out because the thing is, I had to go to my manufacturing job and be there at 11 o'clock at night. Period. I need to be there on time. All right. I don't feel right unless I'm on time to work, and it's just it's unacceptable if I'm not on time. So these people were slipping and tripping. They would. They would schedule, for example, my replacement too late. All right. Sometimes they would schedule my replacement to come at 10 o'clock. That's unreasonable because if you're ever been a waiter, it's not only just waiting and serving on tables. You have side work to do. You have to clean up and you have to make sure that the establishment is ready to be taken over by your replacement waiter. All right. So there would be times, and I found this out real quickly, that I would be leaving after 10. All right. And I have a work ethic where I need to get the job done. All right. Period. There's all sort of waiters at this pancake house that would slip out and they would weasel out of doing their side work and stuff like that, slip out of the back door and things like that. And I noticed that very quickly. But me personally, I got to get all my side work done. I got to get the job done right because I don't want you coming back and telling me, oh, I didn't do this. Oh, I didn't do that the next day and stuff. No, I did everything. I did everything that I was supposed to do, right? So this pancake house would be slipping and tripping to the point where I could not leave at 10. For me to roll up all the silverware and do all my things that need to be done, I wouldn't be leaving at 10. I would be leaving at 10:15, sometimes 10:20. All right. And there were several times in which I left so late from that pancake house that I actually made it late to my manufacturing job. And that burnt me up, dude. We had an agreement for me to leave at 10. So the fact is that y'all are scheduling people in such a way that is messing up my other job, all right? You're starting to mess with my money is what I'm trying to establish. And you're not getting you're getting the food out sort of in a timely manner. I would prefer y'all get it out quick, fast, and in a hurry. It's a pancake house. All right. So y'all are beginning to mess with my money in a couple different ways. And it was irritating to me. And already in the back of my mind, I was thinking, dude, just as soon as I get enough money up, I'm going to be looking for another job, dude, because this is a subpar restaurant and I'm already getting tired of it. All right. So I already had plans in mind to get a different second job. This pancake house is tripping and they're not holding up their end of the deal. I agree to be your best worker, whether or not you're going to know it, and put in all sort of work ethic that you're getting from none of your other employees. All right, except for the Filipino in the back and the Mexican in the back. Yeah, they put in work and stuff. All your other waiters are just doing a piss poor job, to be honest with you. And I'm over here doing the job the way it needs to get done. Meanwhile, y'all aren't upholding your end of the deal. I should be leaving at 10 because that's what we agreed upon. And that's very irritating. All right. So the night that I actually wound up quitting, and the story is much longer than I thought it was going to be. But here, let's fast forward to the night that I actually wound up quitting. I've been at this pancake house just about a month, dealing with their mediocrity and yet still getting good tips because that's how good I am. All right. I was dealing with their mediocrity the whole time. And what I got to explain real quickly about this transgender boy who thinks he's a girl, I think that it's imperative to explain. It's none of my business, and I really don't care. But you could tell, if you couldn't already tell, that person was mentally disturbed. right? And that in and of itself was kind of it was disturbing. It was irritating. And I'm going to give you an example. This is a boy who thinks it's a girl, by the way. All right. But I'm going to give you an example. If you work in food service, if you've ever worked in food service, you already know that in the back, behind the scenes, people are going to have a crude sense of humor. That's all right. That comes with the territory. I'm very used to that. People are going to do little things to entertain themselves, whatever. Like, I'm not a prude in that sort of way. But for example, this mentally disturbed manager that I had, a boy who thinks it's a girl, was very disgusting. I'll give you an example. This boy thought it was a girl. I never seen this person without them making fart noises with their mouth. Believe it or not. Never once did I see this person without them making fart noises with their mouth. And I'm not here to say, oh yeah, I'm too good for fart jokes, right? I've heard them before. It's not gonna upset me, but the thing is, if I can't see you ever without you making fart noises with your mouth, something's wrong with you. Something's sincerely wrong with you. And just to just to think about that, take that all in. This transgender, a boy, if you want to be a homosexual, go for it. Like, it's not my business, but no, you're not a girl, right? Nothing is going to make you a girl, all right? So I know you're mentally disturbed, and I'm sorry about that. I love you as a person, but you're mentally disturbed. If I can't see you ever without you making a fart noise with your mouth, something's really off and perverted and disgusting about you. I already know that some sort of carnival is going on in your brain that I never see without you making loud fart noises with your mouth. You're mentally disturbed. Something's wrong with you. All right, so let's fast forward to the day that I quit because I'm running out of time here on my memory. This very person, this transgender, is in the back desperately trying to make food. The reason is because they only had one cook in the back. And that one cook was actually kind of new, didn't really know what he was doing very good, and certainly couldn't do things in a very fast manner. All right, so the manager had to get in the back and pretty much, help out in order to get the food out on time. This transgender was back there and totally messing up. All right, the entire evening, and just so happened that we got more business than usual, so they were really starting to mess up. If you ever seen a restaurant in the weeds, it's like people are starting to look around and they're at their tables and they're like, dude, how come none of the food is coming out? How come our food is taking so long to come out? And I'm in the front as a waiter trying to appease people, trying to make things right. All right. Trying, and I'm very good at it actually. All right. So I'm doing pretty much a superb job in making people not freak out about their food coming out so late. And I go to the back I'm like, hey, where the heck's the food? Why is it taking so long? And this transgender like doesn't know what it's like, dude, you can't do anything right. All right. So people are getting mad. Different various tables are getting mad. Tables that aren't even my table. There's a table that walked out. There's probably a couple of tables that walked out totally frustrated at the situation. I had a particular table, and this is going to be very important. I want to explain it briefly. Who had to wait about 40 minutes for their food to come out. Now, if you're at a pancake house and you have to wait 40 minutes, you're going to become very irritated, extremely irritated, because you shouldn't even be waiting more than 15 minutes for your food to come out. All right. So this table was getting very upset. When I finally got some of their food out, and it wasn't even their whole order, I saw one of their plates and I took it as soon as it hit the line, took it and immediately ran it to them and said, look, your food is going to come out as soon as it hits that line. All right. I got a hawk's eye on your food right now. That's the only thing I'm concentrating on. I realize you're about to blow like a ticking time bomb. All right. So I bring out their first plate. It was a turkey sandwich and it was for the main lady at the table, and I bring her turkey sandwich. And I say, you know what? The rest of the food, as soon as the second it hits that line, I'm gonna bring it out to you. You can bet your bottom dollar on it. All right. And so I go back to the line and I'm like, dude, get out the food. I need the food. Y'all need to get it out. All right. And I go back to the table and I say, look, I'm cracking the whip on these people. They need to get your food out immediately. The main lady with her turkey sandwich, she has her turkey sandwich open and she's like, look at this. What is this? What is this mess? And I look at her sandwich and I'm like, that is a terrible looking sandwich. Basically, just to be real brief, it looked like dog food on a sandwich. I was like, ma'am, I totally agree. That is a terrible looking sandwich. That is not what a turkey sandwich should look like. I totally agree. I'm going to see what I can do for you. I take it to the back, to the line, and I say, look at this. Look at this sandwich. And mind you, the transgender had made the sandwich. I say, look at this. She doesn't want this. This is not what she wants. And the manager gets mad at me. The transgender gets mad at me and it's like, whatever, she's got to pay for it. I'm like, dude, there's no way that this lady's going to pay for this sandwich. I don't know what you're thinking, but it's not going to happen. All right. And so the manager gets all upset with me as though it was my fault about the sandwich. I was like, look, I didn't make the sandwich. I don't know this lady. She's not going to pay for the sandwich. I don't see how any of this is my fault. But the manager was like, you know what? This is the last time I'm going to comp this person's sandwich, right? Basically implying that it was my fault. And I was like, I don't know what you mean. I don't know if you're going to serve people dog food and then blame it on me and have me pay for it in the future. But I don't know what the hell you're talking about. And anyways, I just kept working. I was like, whatever, I'm going to keep my mouth shut and I'm just going to keep working. All right. Because I have a work ethic that won't stop. All right. And pretty much the evening carries on like that. Different various tables walk out because of the absurd amount of time it takes to get their food out. All right. Meanwhile, the replacement waiter isn't even scheduled till 10 o'clock, and that's the time when I should be leaving. All right. Everything's a mess. It all ran amok. It was disgusting. All right. This transgender completely failed at the transgender's job, which was to get the food out on time. And it was messing with my money. Of course, that messes with my tips a little bit, and I didn't appreciate that. Meanwhile, the whole restaurant's a wreck because I'm trying to get stuff. There's another waiter who's working his heart out. God bless him. He did a great job. But the thing is, the restaurant was a wreck. At 10 o'clock, nothing was done. All the food took way too long to get out, and nothing was done. And I'm supposed to leave, but none of my side work is done. All right, you see the conundrum that I'm in? I wound up having to stay at the freaking Pancake House an hour and a half late. All right. So it was like 11:30 before I even left. And I told the transgender, I was like, look, y'all are messing with my money in more ways than one. This is absolutely ridiculous. And this is going to be the last night that y'all see me. I can afford this. Y'all are playing with my money and you think it's a joke. And you think you think that you're going to blame me for you making a sandwich made out of dog food. Every time I see you, you're making fart noises with your mouth. You're a disgusting pervert. And I didn't tell the transgender all this. I probably should have. And in fact, back in the day, I would have told the transgender all of this because I would have gotten emotional and I would have gotten really ticked off. But instead, I said, look, I'm going to do all my side work. I'm going to make sure that this restaurant is shining and clean before I leave. And then when I leave, that's the last time you're going to see me. I ain't never coming back here. This is piss poor and unacceptable, dude. And y'all are playing with my money, and it's sincerely a problem, dude. And it's not gonna happen, and I can't afford it. All right, I actually have a good job, so forget y'all in your dang Pancake House. All right, y'all can keep being miserable failures all you want and stuff like that. You can keep being disgusting transgender perverts and making fart noises with your mouth because that's the only thing that you find funny. All right, y'all can continue to do it without me because y'all are messing with my money, and a deal is a deal. I was supposed to leave at 10, and y'all don't give a damn about it. Y'all don't even give a damn about making money, all right? Y'all could easily make more money if you had someone with some damn brains in their head doing management, but no, you don't. You just have a silly transgender making fart noises with your mouth every single day of your dang life. All right, and it's unacceptable. And so I dipped out. Meanwhile, I do have to find another job, but it's all right because I do have a first job, and that's doing all right. My rent is going to be paid on time this upcoming month, and before you know it, I'm going to have a raise at my first job, and I'm going to have another second job in which people actually like to make money and actually like to get business done. All right, so that's what I'm looking forward to, and I'm about to run out of time and memory on my camera. So thank you for staying tuned this whole entire time for my story and stuff like that. Anyways, go out and get money and stuff. All these millennials and stuff like that, they don't have not the first clue on how to run business and stuff like that. It's terrible. I'll holler at y'all a little bit later.